Hey all, Steve here from Gen X Horror, and we are going large today with 20 slashers that help define the genre. Our first entry, Top 20 Slashers, I'll try and link it up here somewhere, was controversial as hell, and I get it. My top 20 isn't your top 20, and 100% it shouldn't be. But now let's see how many of your top slashers we'll go over today, and hit up the comments with anything I missed, because honestly, this entire list today is from the comments of the first video. I have one modern day edition at the end, which I believe does a great job capturing 70s and 80s slasher vibes. Let's get into it. I feel like there should be a theme song or some kind of little jingle. 1971 Bay of Blood. Remember when you thought Italian slashers were just like stylish murder mysteries? Mario Bava's Bay of Blood basically invented the slasher formula before Americans even knew what hit them. The blood-soaked proto-slasher follows a bunch of greedy relatives and horny teenagers who all converge on a lakeside property where literally everyone dies in increasingly creative ways. I mean, seriously, the machete to the face kill was so iconic that Friday the 13th Part 2 straight up copied it. Rest in peace, number 81. Bava was working with essentially no budget, but managed to create some of the most inventive gore effects of the early 70s, proving that Italian horror masters could make Hollywood look lazy, even when they were phoning it in.
Marie and her friend.
I feel like a woman for the first time in my life.
Two girls from the suburbs.
Last House on the Left, 1972. This is great. And picture this. You're flipping through channels. It's late at night, and you stumble across what looks like a grindhouse-y exploitation kind of flick, only to realize it's Wes Craven's brutal directorial debut that makes modern torture porn look like Saturday morning cartoons. Two teenage girls get kidnapped by escaped convicts who torture and murder them in the woods, then have the cosmic bad luck of seeking shelter at one of the victims' family's homes, where the parents discover what happened and go full vigilante mode. This movie was so intense that theaters were handing out vomit bags during screenings, and that is not a joke. And it got banned in multiple countries for its unflinching depiction of violence. Craven basically took the civilized people become monsters kind of theme and beat audiences over the head with it, creating a film that it's less entertainment and more an endurance test than anything. But man, does it stick with you.
Alice was too old to play with dolls and too young to make love.
1976, Alice, Sweet Alice. I don't know how else you would say that. Alice, Sweet Alice? Alice, Sweet Alice. Nothing says wholesome Catholic upbringing like a mystery slasher centered around a creepy kid in a yellow raincoat and translucent mask terrorizing a religious community during communion season. When little Karen is murdered during her first communion, suspicion immediately falls on her jealous older sister, Alice. Alice has already established herself as the neighborhood's resident psychopath with a talent for cruel pranks and disturbing behavior. I love this girl. Director Alfred Soul created this atmospheric, slow burn on a shoestring budget, using actual New Jersey locations to create an authentically gritty urban gothic vibe that feels like Don't Look Now had a baby with The Exorcist. The film's focus on Catholic guilt and childhood trauma was way ahead of its time, and that mask design is genuinely nightmare-inducing. Like if a baby doll got left in a haunted attic for 20 years.
On a warm September evening,
Dr. Manakis?
Jill Johnson was babysitting for the two young children of a wealthy doctor.
When a Stranger Calls from 1979, and you know that urban legend about the babysitter getting creepy phone calls only to find out the calls are coming from inside the house. This movie turned that 20-minute campfire story into feature length, and somehow, man, they made it work. Carol Kane plays Jill, a babysitter who receives increasingly threatening phone calls while watching two kids, leading to that iconic moment when the police trace reveals the killer is literally upstairs the whole time. Spoiler alert, she gets out, but the kids, the 70s was a dark time for kids. The opening 20 minutes are genuinely terrifying. It's a masterclass in building tension, but then the film takes this weird choice of following the killer for the middle act before bringing Jill back as an adult for the finale. It's like 3 different movies duct taped together, but that opening sequence alone earned it classic status.
Leave me alone! Jill, this is Sergeant Sacker. Listen to me. We've traced wasted call. It's coming from inside the house. A squad car's going over there right now.
Are you willing to explore the unknown, holding back your fear, allowing your natural curiosity to guide you?
I think I have a problem with spoilers. Nonetheless. 1979, Silent Scream. Take Psycho, mix it with the old dark house, and add a dash of 70s paranoia and insanity, and you get this underrated movie about college students renting rooms in a creepy Victorian mansion where the landlady's family has more skeletons in their closet than a medical school. When students start disappearing, we discover the house harbors a hidden psychotic family member who's been locked away for years and is now picking off the tenants one by one. Whereas all of our psychotic family members are out there in the open at the barbecue. But this film benefits from a genuinely eerie atmosphere and some solid performances, especially from Barbara Steele as the unhinged matriarch, though it suffers from the late 70s pacing that makes you wonder if everyone was on, what were they on back in the day, Quaaludes? This is a personal favorite of mine. Love to see it in the comments. 1979's Tourist Trap. Now imagine if Tobe Hooper directed an episode of Scooby-Doo while having a fever dream about mannequins, and you're halfway to understanding the beautiful insanity that is Tourist Trap. A group of friends get stranded at a remote roadside museum filled with incredibly lifelike mannequins, only to discover the owner can control objects with his mind and has been turning visitors into his wax figure collection. Chuck Connors delivers one of the most unhinged villain performances in slasher history, complete with creepy mannequin masks and a laugh that sounds like a hyena having an existential crisis. The film operates on pure nightmare logic. I mean, nothing in this film makes sense, but it's so committed to its bizarre premise that you can't help but get swept along for the ride. It's kind of like the House of Wax crossed over with Carrie. Sprinkled with some heroin, I would guess. Great movie. Check this one out.
Who will dare to face the challenge of the Funhouse?
1981's The Funhouse came up in the comments a lot as well. And again, this is another Tobe Hooper. Basically, he took his Texas Chainsaw Massacre sensibilities and applied them to the classic teens trapped in a spooky location kind of formula. The result was this carnival set nightmare that'll make you never want to ride the Tilt-A-Whirl again. It's 4 teenagers and they sneak into a traveling carnival's funhouse to spend the night and witness a murder, only to find themselves hunted by a deformed killer and his carny family through a maze of animatronics and horror exhibits. Hooper created this twisted love letter to old school carnival culture, complete with bizarre sideshow attractions and that unforgettable monster design for the killer that looks like Frankenstein's monster had a baby with a ventriloquist dummy. The film builds tension through this claustrophobic funhouse setting, turning childhood memories of innocent carnival scares into genuine adult terror. It's like if your local county fair was designed by people who really hate teenagers and just wanted to murder every last one of them.
Many strange things happen around here.
You know, I meant to read the VHS taglines from these movies, and I completely forgot. But I remember now, and we're doing 1981's Madman. They thought they were going home. Surprise! That's the tagline. Someone watched The Burning and thought, you know what this needs? More folk songs and a killer who looks like a bloated member of ZZ Top. Based on the Cropsey legend, just like The Burning, 1981 apparently was the year of murderous caretakers. This campfire slasher follows counselors at a summer camp who make the brilliant decision to tell ghost stories about Madman Mars. And as an aside, was that the name of the camp? Mars Camp? Camp Mars? I can't find that anywhere, but it was filmed in Fish Cove, probably in upstate New York, I would assume. Anyway, he was a local psycho who killed his family with an axe, and that was super common in the 80s. Naturally, saying his name summons him back to life, and he starts picking off the counselors in increasingly brutal ways, all while the film inexplicably stops for romantic interludes and acoustic guitar sessions, and a painfully long 4-minute hot tub scene where absolutely nothing happens. The killer design is genuinely creepy. The face, the hair, the bloated, the scars. But the film's pacing is so leisurely, you'll start to wonder if everyone's on vacation time, even during the murder scenes.
Anything can happen when you're alone in the dark.
Alone in the Dark, 1982. They're out for blood. Don't let them find you. What if Halloween took place in a mental hospital during a power outage, and Michael Myers had 3 equally psychotic roommates? That's the premise of this genuinely clever slasher that pits a psychiatrist's family against 4 escaped mental patients who believe he murdered their previous doctor. Jack Palance leads the group of escapees with the kind of unhinged charisma that makes you root for him even as he's terrorizing innocent people, while Donald Pleasance shows up as the hospital director, who's somehow even crazier than his patients, because apparently Donald Pleasance was contractually obligated to appear in every horror movie in the early 80s. The guy was everywhere. The film benefits from a smart script that plays with audience expectations and some genuinely suspenseful sequences, though it occasionally gets distracted by early 80s punk rock culture in ways that feel like the director really wanted to show off his record collection. It's a good one, though. 1982's Tenebrae, terror beyond belief. Dario Argento took one look at the American slasher boom and said, "Hey man, hold my espresso. Let me show you how it's done." And he created this stylish meta commentary on violence in media that somehow manages to be an art film as well as a brutal slasher. Anthony Franciosa, you're going to murder me in the comments for that. I don't know how that would be said. Plays a mystery novelist whose latest book seems to be inspiring a serial killer that's based in Rome, leading to like a cat and mouse game filled with Argento's trademark elaborate murder sequences and enough red herrings to stock a sushi restaurant. This film features some of the most inventive camera work in horror history. It's got a 3-minute Steadicam shot that basically exists to show off that it can just be done. While the killer's black leather gloves and straight razor have become iconic symbols of Giallo cinema, it's like Scream but with actual artistic pretensions and way more style than substance. Though when the style is this gorgeous, who cares about the logic, man?
Behind every curtain, someone is waiting.
Curtains from 1983. Behind every curtain, someone is waiting. Something is watching. Someone watched Black Swan 30 years before it existed and decided to make it into a slasher movie about actresses competing for a role in a horror film, complete with creepy dolls and ice skating murders. When a group of actresses audition for a part in a movie called Audra, they're invited to a remote mansion. That's a red flag right there. When they start getting killed off by someone wearing an old lady mask that looks like it was stolen from a nursing home Halloween party. It is horrendous. The film's production was so troubled that it took 3 years to complete this, with multiple directors and extensive reshoots, which explains why the plot feels like several different movies fighting for control of being the main track. The ice skating scene alone is worth the price of admission. Imagine Olympic Dreams directed by someone having a nervous breakdown. This is a really fun movie, though.
A certain kind of girl joins Pi Theta sorority. A girl who likes to party.
This one is a favorite of mine as well. It's 1983's House on Sorority Row. Tagline: "Nothing can prepare you for what happens when she fights back." Ugh. What happens when privileged sorority girls decide to pull a prank on their strict house mother and accidentally kill her? Well, if you guess they hide the body and get picked off one by one by a killer with a walking cane, congratulations. You understand slasher movie logic 100%. 7 sorority sisters cover up their house mother's death during graduation, only to find themselves hunted during their graduation party by someone who clearly didn't appreciate their poor decision-making skills. Director Mark Rossman created a surprisingly effective thriller that benefits from a cast of characters who are actually likable, which is a little rare for some slasher films, and some genuinely creepy sequences set in the sorority house's hidden passages and dusty attic. The film's twist ending involves childhood trauma and psychiatric medication in ways that probably wouldn't fly today, but it's executed with enough style to earn its place among the better early 80s
Go ahead,
slashers.
take a swim. You like getting people wet, right?
There is nothing to be afraid
The Final
of.
Terror from 1983. Without knowing they have awakened an unknown force. Or let me say that differently. Without knowing They have awakened an unknown force. Can anyone survive? Picture Deliverance crossed with Friday the 13th. Throw in some forest rangers and a bunch of teens on a camping trip, and you get this wilderness slasher that feels like it was designed to make you never want to leave civilization. A group of young people head into the remote forest for a camping trip, only to discover they're being hunted by a psychotic hermit who's been living in the woods and has developed some very antisocial tendencies regarding visitors. The film features early performances from future stars like Rachel Ward and Daryl Hannah, though they probably don't list this on their resume anymore. And despite a minuscule budget, director Andrew Davis, later who directed The Fugitive, managed to create some genuinely tense sequences, even if the killer's motivation boils down to basically, he just really doesn't like campers.
To being young, staying young, and dying young.
1984 is the initiation. They pledge themselves to be young, stay young, and die young. College sorority pledges have to spend the night in a department store as part of their initiation, which sounds like a setup to either a really boring reality show or a slasher movie. Guess which one we got? When pledges sneak into the store after hours, they discover they're not alone, and someone starts picking them off using various department store implements in increasingly creative ways. The film tries to add psychological depth with a subplot about repressed memories and childhood trauma, but let's be honest. We're here for the department store kills and the surprisingly elaborate maze-like setting that makes shopping feel genuinely threatening. Director Larry Stewart somehow convinced a real department store to let him film there, creating an authentic backdrop for mayhem that feels like Dawn of the Dead without the zombies. Just good old-fashioned human psychosis in a retail form.
April Fool.
1986 is April Fool's Day. Guess who's going to be the life of the party? That doesn't sound ominous. That sounds nice. What if someone made a slasher movie but forgot to include any actual slashing? That's the central premise of this unique entry that spends 90 minutes building to a twist ending that either makes you appreciate its cleverness or throw something at the screen in frustration. College friends gather at a remote island mansion for spring break. So relatable, where their host Muffy has planned an elaborate April Fool's Day celebration that quickly turns deadly when people start disappearing and dying in increasingly violent ways. Or do they? The film features surprisingly good character development and genuine chemistry among the cast, which makes the eventful revelation that much more effective. Assuming you don't figure it out halfway through and spend the rest of the movie feeling smug about it, it's basically, and then there were none, with a sense of humor and a twist ending that recontextualizes everything you just watched. Like, let me go back and watch that again. I missed that.
Maybe we are the haunted sorority house after all.
1986's Sorority House Massacre. Who will survive the final exam? Okay, that's a good tagline. Someone watched Halloween and thought, you know what this needs? Sorority girls, and even less budget. The result is this micro-budget slasher about a college student who returns to her childhood home, which is now a sorority house, just as her psychotic brother escapes from a mental institution and comes looking for her. The film operates on pure slasher movie logic. Characters make inexplicably poor decisions. The killer has supernatural abilities to appear and disappear, and the final girl discovers repressed memories at exactly the right moment to explain everything. Director Carol Frank somehow managed to create effective scares despite a budget that probably couldn't cover catering at a small student film, proving that sometimes limitations force creativity, or at least creative uses of ketchup for blood effects. It's like a Cliff's Notes version of every other slasher from that decade, distilled down to pure genre essentials. Like, let's just get this done. 1987 Stage Fright, or Aquarius, or Deliria, because it's an Italian production. The Theater of Death. That's the tagline. It's a slasher movie backstage at a theater production because nowhere is safe from mass killers in 80s horror. When a killer escapes from a mental hospital, who is guarding these mental hospitals? and hides out in a theater where a troupe is rehearsing a musical, coincidentally, about murder, the director decides this is the perfect opportunity to create realistic atmosphere by locking everyone inside with the actual psychopath, and these actors will for sure die for their art. The film features some of the most elaborate and creative kill sequences in slasher history, including a chainsaw scene that makes Texas Chainsaw Massacre look like Snow White. It's like Phantom of the Opera with better special effects and worse decision-making skills, apparently. Very artsy, very creative carnage. So good.
Hodgkins, what's to get wrong?
What did you say?
Wait a minute. Who am I here?
Jerry.
Thank you, honey.
This one has my favorite tagline. It's 1987's The Stepfather. He wanted a perfect family in a perfect town, but they couldn't measure up. Neither could the others. Terry O'Quinn delivers one of the most chilling villain performances in horror history as Jerry Blake, a man who kills families when they don't live up to his vision of domestic perfection, then moves on to find new victims. After murdering his previous family, Jerry assumes a new identity and marries a widow with a teenage daughter. But his new stepdaughter begins to suspect something's not quite right with dear old dad, and it could be the way he practices his fake personas in the bathroom mirror while shaving. The film works as both a slasher and a psychological thriller, using the era's obsession with traditional family values to explore how toxic family values taken too far can manifest in suburban settings. O'Quinn's performance is genuinely unsettling because he makes Jerry seem like the perfect husband and father, right up until the moment he snaps and reveals the monster underneath that Ward Cleaver facade he's wearing.
A good guy! I knew it! I'm Chuck.
1988's Child's Play. You wish it was only make-believe. That's good too. What if My Buddy commercials were directed by someone having a really bad break with reality? That's essentially the genesis of Child's Play, which introduced the world to Chucky, a serial killer soul trapped in a good guy doll who's determined to transfer his consciousness into a young boy. When single mother Karen Barkley buys her son Andy a discounted doll from the back of a truck, it's a red flag right there, she discovers that Chucky is possessed by the spirit of Charles Lee Ray, who uses voodoo magic to continue his killing spree from beyond the grave. Director Tom Holland managed to make a killer doll genuinely terrifying through a combination of puppetry, animatronics, and Brad Dourif's unhinged vocal performance as Chucky's voice. The film spawned an entire franchise and made an entire generation of kids suspicious of their toys, proving that sometimes the most ridiculous premises make the most effective horror movies. And later on it brought in Jennifer Tilly, and we all appreciate that.
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut!
It's closing time.
The store will be closing in 15 minutes.
But the night crew still has work to do.
Oh my god, we're gonna get inside.
1989's Intruder. He's just crazy about this store, which is an actual line from the movie. What happens when the night crew at a grocery store gets locked in with a psychotic killer during inventory? You get this delightfully unhinged slasher that uses every department of a supermarket as a potential murder weapon. When a small-town grocery store stays open late to take inventory, man, if you've ever worked retail, you know this is already a horror story. Employees start getting killed off in increasingly creative ways involving meat slicers, trash compactors, and other grocery store equipment that actually seems way more dangerous than once thought. Director Scott Spiegel and Sam Raimi, created this love letter to retail hell that features some of the most inventive kills in slasher history, including a head-squashing scene that'll make you never look at a hydraulic press, that's the machine, the same way. It's like Dawn of the Dead met The Shining, but with better gore effects and a sense of humor about its own absurdity.
I'm just crazy about this store.
This is 2023, Thanksgiving. There will be no leftovers. This is a little bonus clip. This film reminds me a lot of the 70s and 80s slashers, right? Eli Roth looked at the current state of horror and decided, you know, what we really needed was a throwback to 80s slashers, complete with a killer in a pilgrim outfit who turns Black Friday shopping into a literal bloodbath. And this is based on Roth's fake trailer from Grindhouse This modern slasher follows a group of Massachusetts teens who become targets of a mass killer known as John Carver after a Black Friday trampling incident at a local store goes viral. Roth perfectly captures the aesthetic and tone of classic slashers while updating the social commentary for the Instagram age. The film proves that the slasher formula still works when handled by someone who understands what made the originals so special. It's gory, it's funny, and surprisingly smart about its influence. That's 21 slashers that prove the golden age of mass killers was absolutely unhinged in the best possible way. From Mario Bava's proto-slasher blueprint to Eli Roth's modern homage, these films created a blueprint for terror that still are being copied today. Whether you're team supernatural killer or prefer your psychos strictly human, there's something here to make you sleep with the lights on. Now, what's your favorite underrated slasher from this era? Did we miss any hidden movies that deserve recognition? Throw it in the comments. Like I said when we started, every single movie in here, except for that last bonus one, is from the comments of the prior video. So this was generated off of, hey, you missed this one, jackass. So I got all the ones that I missed. But I'll bet there's more. Stay cool, guys.